Morning, everybody. I think I win my sneaker game, by the way. I'm wearing my gold Vans. These are my shiny, like, I'm at a big deal kind of thing. Thank you so much for having me here. Sports as a foundation for life is basically me. I am the daughter of a track and field coach, women's track and field for 40 years. Now runs track and field for women across the world. I'm a double sport at Harvard, or volleyball and track and field. And every team I have ever been involved in, whether it's the team at home and the team for work, I use sports and what I learned on the field and in the court as a foundation. You already see the two gentlemen here joining me, and they are the embodiment of what it means to not just build off a foundation, but to dig that ground and even put the foundation down. So I'm gonna sit down real quick, and we're gonna start with this lovely young man. Give you a little bit about this guy. Caylin Moore, 23 years old, newly married. Congratulations to Paola, she's here. Bravo, yeah, bravo. Newly married, 2 months. 2017 Rhodes Scholar, at Oxford right now, studying Latin American Studies. Went to Marist College, then transferred to TCU to play football at Division I university, and started right here in the Compton-Carson area. Gentleman next to him, Mr. Keith Johnson. Welcome him to the stage, Keith Johnson. Keith runs the Falcons Youth and Family Service Organization. It's an organization that teaches football and cheer, but so much more. And I like the Falcons Youth and Family Service doesn't necessarily have sport because it's so much more than just sport. It's an organization that began in 2005.
Correct.
Here in South LA. And these guys have a special connection. And as we talk today, I want to really look at what it means to have connections within our community, because I think that will drive the foundations that we build every day. So we talked about your journey and where you are right now, but it didn't start that way. Take us back. You were living with your family, your mom and dad in Moreno Valley, and then there's divorce. Start from there.
Absolutely. So growing up, I had a lot of adversity that I dealt with initially when I was growing up. My parents divorced due to domestic violence when I was very young. That's when we moved into the Compton and Carson area. I remember. I remember specifically when I was a little kid. I shared a bed with my mom, my brother, and my sister until I was in the 8th grade. I remember at nighttime, I got used to hearing gunshots and stuff like that at nighttime, but I could never get used to hearing those rats and those roaches move things under the bed. Mm-hmm. So I just always had a mindset that I knew I wanted to get out of this situation and see better days for my family.
And I read somewhere too that at times, it was hard to feed all three of you.
Absolutely.
Your mom was working hard. One time she was driving you guys to school, then driving 50 miles to go to law school. I mean, tough lady, but it was hard, and you would do push-ups to mask the pain of the hunger pains from coming from your stomach. But you're talking about that, and what drove you during that time?
Yeah, during that particular time period, I remember very vividly. A lot of times when there wasn't enough food to go around in the household, I would just drop down and I had a mindset of transferring that pain that was in my stomach from those searing hunger pains and putting that pain into my arms. A lot of times I slept on the floor actually in puddles of sweat from just doing those push-ups. And it may sound strange, but I convinced myself that those push-ups that I was doing on that floor, one day that would create some opportunities where I wouldn't be hungry anymore. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of my motivation, my mindset during that time period.
And when did you first find sport?
The very first time I played sports, I did Taekwondo when I was really little. I'm actually a black belt, fun fact.
Nice.
I did Taekwondo.
I'm not surprised.
I did Taekwondo when I was really little, and then I played flag football, but we didn't have the money to be able to play up until the time I was 10 years old.
Right.
And basically what happened, it was extremely pivotal in the community. Does anybody know the rapper Snoop Dogg?
Yeah.
Snoop Dogg? Okay. Snoop Dogg came out with a football league, the Snoop Youth Football League. And then in addition to the Snoop League coming out, LA 84, they actually sponsored and they funded a lot of youth football programs, pretty much subsidizing the youth football fees.
Right.
So that was the particular time where I was able to, have enough money to play football. And I remember I collected cans and bottles to be able to pay for my fees and for my brother's football fees. But that's pretty much what created the impetus for me to be able to play.
And we should thank LA 84 because for so many years and decades, they've been helping kids like Caylin. And Mr. Keith Johnson as well. So you remember this kid.
Yes.
Not like this.
No.
Tell me how you first met Caylin.
I remember seeing Caylin and his mom come to sign up for football. And Coach CJ, she was one of our first women coach on our organization.
That's right.
And Caylin was an interesting kid because he should have played a couple of levels down, but he decided that he would play up. And I told the coach, Coach Tony and CJ, that you guys are out of your mind. Why are you letting this scrawny little kid play quarterback?
Right.
But he was determined to set himself at a much higher standard, not to be like everyone else. And he was going to push himself. And not only did he compete for the position, he actually won the position.
So you do football and cheer with your organization, and these are your babies. They call him Prez for president because he's the Prez.
Right.
But what do you see in these babies in these communities, of South LA and Compton and Carson? What are you seeing?
Actually, it might sound strange, but I see several lumps of clay. And the question is how will those lumps of clay be molded, be shaped? They're going to be tested by the fire. But will they be in the hands of someone that can actually make something beautiful out of that ugly little lump? And so my job, or our organization job, our coach's job, is to look at that lump and pour into them the craftsmanship, the love, the gentleness, the sternness that's needed, the words of wisdom that's needed to help that parent mold that child into something very special. And so, again, they're going to be tried by the fire. The question is, are they in the hands of a skilled person that can shape them into something great, something beautiful, and eventually grow up to be something special?
And your organization, too, is not just about the kids, but what I love about it is that it really is about the full community coming together. And you not only talk to the kids and tell them what you expect from them, but the parents get to talk, too.
Yes, ma'am.
What is that talk all about?
Well, our motto is it's time to teach new school kids old school values. We believe that the problem in our community across the country is we've forgotten those values that were important to us as a group of people. Never get too busy for God. Baby, get a good education. Respect your elders at all times. Instead of performance compensation. Keep your hands to yourself. All money is not good money. It's important that we teach that lesson. But it has to be reinforced by the parents themselves. That you have to remember what mom, grandma, grandpa taught you and also reinstill those values. And so we hold them to a standard of excellence. If you want to keep kids out of grown folks' conversation, keep your conversation correct around kids. So when you come to our practice, you can't come in pajamas, you can't come in house shoes, you can't sag. If you wear a professional outfit to work, don't put on your nightclub outfit to come to the club because the coaches are not there for you. They're there for the kids. We want to set a standard of excellence. I don't tell grown folks what to do, but I demand that they don't do grown folk things around kids. No drinking, no smoking, no getting high, no cussing our kids. You need to make sure that you set the standard of excellence because they need to see what excellence looks like in our community. So they have to have that standard.
And Caylin, you're getting this from Coach and from this organization. Is that where it started? I mean, he says you're individually, you were that kid that was like, no one was going to tell you no. You were going to build from there. But what were you getting from that support system?
I want to say that's a really excellent question. I'm going to tie this into how Coach Johnson really affected my life. I remember growing up, other than my mom, there weren't many male role models. So where if I had to cite any male role models just extemporaneously, really, really quick, I would have to think about the garbage man and the mailman first. Because in my community, the garbage man showed up at 8 a.m. every single Monday, and the mailman showed up at 3 p.m. That's how I learned to be on time. It was from that garbage man and that mailman. Then I had to think to my next door neighbor. I had a next door neighbor. He would always be in his front line and he would be organizing things. That's why I learned organizational skills from watching my next door neighbor. Once again, I didn't have male role models. I remember it was this old lady in my neighborhood, and any time you rode your bicycle and you would go across her grass, she would come out the house and she would yell at you. That's why I learned that there were boundaries in life.
Right.
But most importantly, I knew this dark-skinned man from the inner city who would yell a lot. He was he had a really strong voice. And I remember that he would wake up at 8 a.m., sometimes probably 5 a.m., and work all the way to 5 p.m. every single day. But every Monday through Saturday, he was up at Harvard Park from 6 to 8 p.m. And that's why I learned to be a man of my community. That man's name is Keith Johnson. So I watched little things. So I was one of those kids that was extremely observant. You know, if I'm learning from the mailman and the garbage man, best believe I'm gonna learn from Coach. As he was saying the old school values for new school kids, in my head I was thinking, never get too busy for God, baby, get a good education, respect your elders at all times, be in the house by the street. I remember everything because I was watching this man. So that's what I took from Coach Johnson in the Falcons.
Thank you so much, Keith, for what you were doing and what you continue to do. We learn so much on the field, I mean, I do, but there's also adversity when you play a sport. So at Marist, you're there, things are great. You're getting that, that ride there. I know they didn't have like a scholarship, but you were getting enough grants and money to be able to go there. You're playing football, and at one point you have a back injury, and that keeps you off the field. So then you had to find those old values and figure out what to do next. Tell me what you did during that time, and how did that sport that you were in sort of help you?
Absolutely, I would love to talk about that. So I was just thinking about this the other day. I just flew on a plane all the way from Oxford, England. I'm a student at Oxford right now, and I'm here sitting on this couch. And I was just thinking while I was on the plane, 2.5 years ago, I was a janitor. Like it just sunk into my head. 2.5 years ago, I was a janitor. So that should let people know what I'm about. Mm-hmm. I remember during that time period, I hurt my back so bad that they said I wouldn't be able to play football again. But I called my mom, and she said that I would, so I did a comparative analysis. Okay. So I said, okay, that doctor wasn't there for me when there was gunshots going on outside. That doctor wasn't there for me for those bucket baths. That doctor doesn't know what a pallet is to sleep on the floor. That doctor doesn't know, all these things that I've been through. But I called my mom, but my mom is familiar with that. So I prioritized what my mom said over what he said, and my mom said I'll be able to play again.
Right.
So...
Is CJ here? I want to know, before we keep going, is CJ here? Because I would love to recognize Mom. If she is here, we appreciate you. There you are. First female coach, there it is. Thank you so much for what you do. You're an inspiration to mothers like me. Thank you so much. So you're a janitor. Yeah. I'm going to get to the point here. And you're doing your thing, and as you're mopping, someone comes to you and says, you missed a spot. What did you do?
I remember that. So I'm sitting there, I got a job as a janitor because I convinced myself not only will I play football, but I'll play football at such a high level that my father will be able to see me on TV from the prison that he's at in Tahakabee, California. I said, not only will I be a scholar, but I will go to Harvard, I will go to Oxford. And I wrote this on a piece of paper. So I got a job as a janitor to raise the funds for a plane ticket. I convinced myself that I was gonna need a plane ticket, so I need this janitor job. So this guy walked past me, and he said, you missed the spot. And I said, where? I turned back, and he spit on the floor. I don't know if I just explained where I come from. All right. I'm not gonna get into that. So I said, I missed the spot. And I said, hey, bro, come back. He started walking back. I said, where are you going? He said, I'm going to the caf to go eat. Something you can't do because you're a janitor. I said, is that right? I said, tell you what, when you go to that caf, tell them to put that food into your hands and bring that food from your hands, bring it back out to this floor and eat it off this floor. That's how clean it's gonna be when you get back. I heard a quote that day that changed my entire life. Dr. Martin Luther King. It says, if it falls your lot to be a street sweeper, then sweep streets like Michelangelo painted. Sweep streets like Beethoven composed music. Sweep streets like Shakespeare wrote plays. Sweep streets so well that when you die, may all the hosts of heaven and earth look at your grave and say, there lived a street sweeper who did his job well. I changed my whole mindset. I said, if I'm gonna be a janitor, I changed my entire mindset. I said, if I'm gonna be a janitor, I will be the best dang janitor that ever lived. If anybody come past this spot on Marist College campus, they're gonna know Caylin Lewis Moore must have been there, because it's spotless.
Oh, yeah. That's right. And I don't want to bury the lead. You did mention your father there, and he is still in prison serving a life sentence. You know, having that as part of your life is something that you have to continually deal with. How has what you've been through helped you sort of handle that as well?
Absolutely. I think it's very humbling. It's a constant reminder whenever I think, I hear somebody saying, oh, I just called my dad or I talked to my dad. I think about where my dad is right now in life, and I think about where I could have been very easily in life, following after that path. So it always humbles me and reminds me that, God has me on a particular path for a particular reason. So it's always very humbling to take a step back and think about those things.
Coach, when you hear this, and you were one of his role models, you see little kids like Caylin come through you. Do you take a little bit about what you see from him, and how do you move that to the future kids and the ones you have right now in your program?
Well, first I'm trying to get over the fact something very profound that Caylin said. I didn't realize that I was dark. Shake that.
That's the truth.
I look at Caylin and trying to man up and not cry.
Man, cry.
I see the greatness that's in all of us. Mm-hmm. 3 years ago, I was ready to shut it down. I've been involved in youth sports for 32 years. And 3 years ago, I was ready to shut it down. And a little kid said to me, who's going to take me across that bridge to manhood? Oh. And I told Caylin I surprised him for his graduation at TCU. And I said, a lot of people will say to you that you've made it out. And I said, don't buy that. You set a new standard. Mm. And my passion now is to raise up another group of kids who can look at this young man as a living role model and say, yes, I can. Mm. It's amazing how we can have all the data in the world, mm-hmm. but when you can look at a living person and know his story and understand that he is simply at the beginning of his journey, it gives us strength to continue to pour life into our babies who are living in a dying situation. Mm.
Don't quit. We're all here for you, right? And that's part of it. I mean, the foundation may be there. I said I wasn't going to cry, my goodness. The foundation may be there, but it's hard. It's hard to build on it every day. Rick, what would you say to folks who find themselves in communities all across Southern California and this country and the world who are trying to do what you do to take that step to build on that foundation?
One of my mentors was a guy by the name of Ron Johnson, who's gone on to be with the Lord, founder of the 10-Step Rites of Passage program. For those who are in our field of work who find themselves struggling, I would say to you, it was a quote that I read in the King Center. I'm not sure if it's Dr. King because it wasn't ascribed to him, but it said, if your belief is strong and your cause is just, no obstacle can stand in your way. Remember that if your belief is strong and your cause is just, no obstacle can stand in your way. We started off, as Caylin said, as a small little youth football program in South LA that was literally blessed by Snoop Dogg with everything that we need to start a program. And then we had the wonderful opportunity to receive a small gift from the LA84 Foundation, but it wasn't just the gift that got us going. It was a partnership. It was a constant guidance. I learned something from LA 84 that says we don't compete against, we compete with, which kind of changed my outset about the direction that we would go. There are resources that will come together. There's a wonderful book, The Alchemist, and one of the passages, I'm probably going to misquote it, that simply says the universe will conspire or will come together to help you along. And I know I misquoted that, but at the end of the day, don't stop doing what you do. Don't stop believing what you believe. There's a scripture that says, having done all to stand, stand therefore. Don't give up. The doors will open, the resources will come, and it will happen. And finally, I will say, give back to those who are not in that position, but you are still wanting to do something. Give back. Take your time, take your talents, take your resources, and find that community-based organization that needs that web designer. Find that community-based organization that need that accountant. Find that community-based organization that need that planner. Give back to them. Take your gifts and your talents and share it. And what will happen is they will multiply greatly. So don't give up and give back.
Wonderful. Caylin, take us home. I know you started your own organization at TCU, and we can't really get into that now, but you're helping kids just the same way that Coach helped you. What is your intent? That last thing that you do, that thing that you do every day moving forward?
Growing up, my mom always told me, Caylin, today was a good day if I can give a cup of water to somebody in the name of Jesus today. It was a good day. So that's my perspective. It's to inspire every single day, to inspire somebody, whether it is through the book that I'm writing or the organizations that we're starting or through public policy in the future. I remember what it was like to be that one kid in the crowd when Stephon Johnson from USC, the running back, came to talk at my high school, and I was 5'3", 114 pounds, and he says, anybody can go to college, even him. And he pointed at me. So I want to speak to that one person every single day. I don't know who it's going to be, but I know I'm talking to some future Caylin Moores and some people that will be way greater than Caylin Moore in the future. So that's what I'm looking to do every single day.
By the way, this guy wants to run for office. Does he have our vote? And that's really what it's all about, is doing that. Do you have, I believe in intent, as I was saying, and I do have one word per day that just gives me and drives me each day to do something. And it might be, I'm feeling tired, so I need energy, or whatever. What's your day today? As you're here in this place and we're learning about so many people, that one word today that you're driving you through the day.
Make it great.
Make it great. And you, Caylin?
Humility. I think that ties into everything that I would like to do, is just doing it with a lot of humility.
And mine is Ubuntu. It's an African proverb that means I am who I am because of who we are together. So make sure you stay together, you stay united, and you make sure you live by the proverbs that these guys have. Thank you so, so very much for everything you do and everything you're doing in the future. Folks, a round of applause, please. Coach Pete Johnson and the Caylin Moore.
That was